This video is going to show you how to replace the clutch cable on your Suzuki Ignis. Mine's a 2003 model. So what happened with mine is the clutch started getting stiff and the clutch pedal inside the cable broke away from it. So this will replace the cable. I'll show you the inside and we'll have a look and see how we go about replacing it. So this is the clutch of the Suzuki. As you can see up here, this has no resistance at all. It just pushes straight down. And what I found was these plastic bits broke away. So even though it was stiff, I managed to get a few thousand more kilometers out of it, but inevitably the cable did end up breaking. So what we'll do is we'll start from the other side and I'll show you some tips just to see what is best to do before you start fixing the clutch cable. So we're back at the clutch cable now. So what I suggest you do is first thing we need to do is unscrew this screw here that goes and screws up to the clutch, or at least the clutch lever. But what I suggest doing first is measuring it just to see where it sits on the cable. Now as long as you're getting the same genuine Suzuki cable, all these specifications should be the same. So if you just measure where the bolt is on the threads, just along here, just using a ruler or a tape measure, if you measure, then you can at least get your clutch adjustment a whole lot easier when you put it all back together. So I'll measure that off camera just to make it easy, and then we'll have a look at the next part. So I've now unscrewed the nut. What I found was mine was 2 centimeters from the base, so of this thick part of the nut. So if you start from the top of the cable or the part where it threads off to and measure, I measured to here, you just measure wherever you like as long as you can get the same measurement each time. I've unscrewed it, so it will go this part and then this round part here, and that will go to the clutch lever. And then what we have to remove now is, let's get down as far as we can. So now I've got to remove this part here. So once that part's up and out, we'll then be able to move on to the next part of the clutch, which is clipped in down. Unfortunately, it won't focus. Let me see. See if I can focus a bit better. There we go, just down to the base here. Cool, so I managed to get it to focus better now. Let's hope it can continue to focus. So we got to get it down to here. So that's the next part that I'll show you from. And then from there, goes along the back firewall. And then over this side here. There you go, that's not too bad focus. There's a spot just down the bottom here which needs to be unscrewed. And then it feeds into the firewall up to here. So that's where it goes in the firewall into the car. So what we'll do is I'll get it to this stage and then I'll show you the clutch cable and see how it's gone. So we're back down to where the screw was on the clutch lever, and now we've got to detach this part here. I don't know much about these, so I'm just trial and erroring it along with you guys as well. So I found what way to get this one out. It's just pull back and then pull up. And now that's detached from that holder there. Now I just go to that clip which we were trying to focus on before. So that clip back here I was able to undo quite easily. Just using fingers, so no special tools required. I'm not sure if this is standard, but there's a cable tie here that's cable tied to another, looks like the battery terminal lead. So I'll just cut that off and then we'll move to the next spot. Now I'm up to my final part which I need to unscrew, which is this screw that attaches to the firewall. This one here I found is a size 10. If you can fit a small socket down here, it's convenient, but I'm able to get it undone with a spanner. So the spanner's loosened it off a little bit. So give the spanner a try, or a nice small socket. There's a little bit of a gap to squeeze through. But otherwise, this is the last bit before we look inside. So I was able to unscrew that screw. As you can see, that's it there. It just looks like a standard screw, but in the kit that I've got, it only supplies the cable itself and that little bracket down there. So I'll show you the kit in a sec just to make sure you know what you got, but keep all the screws, keep all the bolts, because if you lose them, you're gonna have to order more parts. So before we look at the inside of the car, this is the part number that I've got. I'll show you as well the cable that I've received and what's come with it. So as you can see, this is the cable, no screws or adapters on the end here for the clutch arm, just the standard cable. As I said, this piece still comes with it, so that's okay, but there's no screw for it. And then you've got the end. So now we're on to the inside of the car. As you can see, this is where the clutch cable comes up through the firewall. It's going to be difficult to show, but you follow that cable up and that connects to the top of the clutch just up here. It's behind the spring. You might see that little black bit going up. That's where the end of that clutch attaches. So I'll show you which end that would be. That end is this end here. So the black plastic part will go just under where that comes up. And then there we go, that's not too bad of an angle. The other end will then attach to the top of that clutch piece. What it looks like is this gets dragged through the firewall side and then gets fed back through. So what I'll do now is get that all done and we'll see what's next. So I thought before I do that, I'll just show you how the clutch cable weaves through so it's done right the first time. So I pulled it all the way out. This is on top around near the battery, the ends. And then what happens is the clutch cable squeezes behind the wire loom that runs towards the back of the engine bay. And then that cable goes behind this engine assembly. As you see, then that follows up and then back, and that's where it enters the firewall. So what I'll do now is I'll pull it all through and I'll push it through the firewall to the engine, to the pedal area, and hopefully we can attach it nice and easily. I thought I'd show you on the new clutch assembly cable what I'm finding the fiddliest, and that's detaching this plastic part here from the cable, from behind the cable inside. What I noticed was that this part was easy to pull off the clutch, or at least in my situation, from around the top. So putting a hand over the top and just unhitching it. But now I'm finding it difficult to get this plastic part from behind the back. So I'll keep trying and I'll let you know how I go and what the best way of doing it is. So I've tried removing the cable manually, and in my situation it's not working. It may work for you, but what I'm going to have to do is undo the screws, like there, one on the other side too, and up the top. Then undo this whole clutch pedal. So it's only 3, so it's not too bad. So hopefully it gets easier from here. And at the end of the video as well, I'll put the clutch diagram for this pedal so you can have a look, and hopefully it's similar to what you've got, and it might help in your situation. So I'll just quickly talk you through this part here. The 2 nuts down the bottom loosened up really well, and the 1 bolt at the top loosened up fine as well. They required a size 12. So if you've got to do this part, size 12, quite easy to undo. And we'll see how it goes. I've just undone all the 3 spots that needed to be required. Clutch pedals down, so let's bring it forward and see if this helps me out. Well, it seems like the cable is stopping it from going any further. But let's see if I can angle it. What I'll do is I'll do this off camera and then I'll pull it back and see how it's gone for you. So after all that, I managed to get it out. So as you can see, that's the new one. Now I did have to do something I usually wouldn't do, which is try and cut it. So this isn't the cable being damaged from general use. This is me trying to cut it, but in doing so, I was able to pull it through from the pedal. Good thing is now I got the pedal out, I can actually show you how it's designed and what's happened with my particular one. So if you have a look down here, you can see that a bit of mine, because the cable was so tight for so long, has pulled up on the bracket that holds the clutch cable. So what I have to do now is bend that back down. I'll screw everything back in, put the new clutch on, and hopefully that solves the issue. So I'm going to show you how the cable goes onto the clutch pedal. I'm going to try and do it with one hand. So as you can see, that hook there is where this end of the clutch goes once it's threaded through that hole that we see at the bottom there. And then what happens is when this cable goes through, it's then spun 90 degrees, so it goes in like that, and then spun 90 degrees to secure it. I'm going to try and do all this now, and I'll put it all back together, show you back through the reverse procedure, and hopefully it's all done. So as you can see, I've fed it back through here. Now what I'll do is I'll screw the clutch pedal back in, hopefully connect it up. Now we'll have a look at the outside and see, make sure we've done the correct procedure there. So that's the clutch cable from the outside. As you can see, the rubber boot is covering the gap that goes through the firewall. Then you have the cable that runs down here, still have to screw it in. Back along the back, underneath the wiring harness that goes to the back where the engine is, or the back of the engine area. And then this carries on and goes to there. Now all I have to do is just screw it all back up, put all the hooks on, and hopefully we're all sweet. So this is the car all back together now. Got the boot that covers the entrance to the firewall, runs along the back. I did find this bolt here was very difficult to do up just because of how small the access was. But once I spent a couple minutes, or about 10 minutes doing that and tightening it up, everything else was fairly straightforward and quite easy. So it runs behind as we saw before, goes in front. Now this cable does feel a lot stiffer. So what I've done is I've just left the adjustment a little bit less than before. I'll do a couple laps around the block and see how it goes, but that's how you replace the clutch cable in a Suzuki Ignis. Well, hopefully that helps, and thanks for watching.